Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in for our Bhagavad Gita study session. We'll start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Dushe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girin yatrapātamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in. We are starting our Bhagavad Gita. We are on chapter number 6. So we were studying about how a Krishna conscious person is truly is, right? A Krishna conscious person is absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada gave a very beautiful analogy in the last verse that we discussed. Just like a lamp in a windless place does not waver. We were giving an example of how the lamp which is covered with glass. Although there is wind, but that protective shield is there, the glass, because of which the lamp does not burn out, isn't it? Similarly, the flame does not go off, right? Similarly, although our mind is troubled with a lot of things of illusion are surrounding us, that every reason for us to get bewildered and agitated. But then if we follow the principles of Krishna consciousness, if we keep Lord Krishna in the center of whatever we are doing, if we are following the instructions of our Siksha Gurus and our Diksha Guru, and we please them with our services, and by their grace will act as a protective shield around us, just like the glass around the lamp serves as a protective shield for the flame to not go off. Similarly, their blessings and our desire to serve them, right, will act as a shield for us to not get agitated and to focus in Krishna consciousness with all steadiness and with focus. Yeah. So with that, let's move on to text number 20 to 23. Okay. So devotees who would like to read can raise your hands. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6, text number 20. Yeah. Okay, anyone wants to read? Okay, let me start. Yatro paramate chittam nirudham yoga sevaya yatra jaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. Okay, so before I start, I'm sorry for the change of program. Actually, I had announced that there is no session today, but because it's my daughter's birthday today, somehow the plan changed and we're going after. We were supposed to go for lunch and it became after lunch. So I thought, okay, I might as well, at least have our study session. So that's the whole thing. Teenagers, their minds change, and then you have to change according to them. So I thought, okay, I'm at home. So I thought, let's have our session also. So that's the secret behind the change of plan. And I'd like to thank the participants who joined in spite of the very, very short notice, because I also posted it only at 11:50. So thank you very much. All right, so let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatro paramate chittam nirudham yoga sevaya yatra jaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati. Sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrayam matindriyam veti yatra na jaivayam stitaschaliti tatvatah yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatah yasmin sito na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidyad dukhasum yoga viyogam yoga samyitam. Synonyms over to a translation. Yatra, in that state of affairs, where uparamate sees, because one feels transcendental happiness. Chittam, mental activities. Nirudham, being restrained from matter. Yoga sevaya, by performance of yoga. Yatra, in which. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Atmana, by the pure mind. Atmanam, the self. Pashyan, realizing the position of. Atmani, in the self. Tushyati, one becomes satisfied. Sukham, happiness. Atyantikam, supreme. Yat, which. Tat, that. Buddhi, by intelligence. Grayam, accessible. Atindriyam, transcendental. Veti, one who knows. Yatra, wherein. Na, never. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. I am, he. Stitaha, situated. Chalati, moves. Tatvataha, from the truth. Yam, that which. Labdva, by attainment. Cha, also. Aparam, any other. Labham, gain. Manyate, considers. Na, never. Adhikam, more. Tataha, than that. Yasmin, in which. Stitaha, being situated. Na, never. Dukkhena, by miseries. Guruna, api, even though very difficult. Vichalyate, becomes shaken. Tam, that. Vidyat, you must know. Dukkha samyoga, of the miseries of material contact. Viyogam, extermination. Yoga samyitam, called trance in yoga. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, Abhicharana Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In the joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristic of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the super soul through transcendental mind and intelligence without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the super self. Yoga practice is more or less based on the principles of the Patanjali system. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the super soul, and the monists think this to be liberation. But they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga. There is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist. But in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. And this is corroborated by Patanjali Muni, the famous exponent of the yoga system. The great sage declared in his Yoga Sutras 4.33, Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam Prati Pravasaha Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtha Va Chiti Shaktir Iti. This Chit Shakti or internal potency is transcendental. Purushartha means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, the attempt to become one with the Supreme. This oneness with the Supreme is called Kaivalyam by the monist. But according to Patanjali, this Kaivalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which a living entity becomes aware of his constitutional position. In other words, in the words of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this state of affairs is called Cheto Darpana Marjana, or clearing or clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. This clearance is actually liberation, or Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvapanam. The theory of Nirvana, also preliminary, corresponds with this principle. In the Bhagavatam, this is called Swarupena Vyavastitihi in 2.10.6. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms this situation in this verse. After nirvana or material cessation, there is a manifestation of spiritual activities or devotional service to the Lord known as Krishna consciousness. In the words of the Bhagavatam, Swarupena Vyavastitihi, this is the real life of the living entity. Maya or illusion is a condition of spiritual life contaminated by material infection. Liberation from this material infection does not mean destruction of the original eternal position of the living entity. Very beautiful point. We'll discuss this. Liberation from this material infection, right? The current materialistic environment that we are in, that's compared to a disease, right? So liberation from this material infection does not mean destruction of the original eternal position of the living entity. What does it mean? Patanjali also accepts this by his words, Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtha Va Chiti Shaktir Iti. This Chiti Shakti or transcendental pleasure is real life. This is confirmed in Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12 as Anandamayo Abhyasad. This natural transcendental pleasure is the ultimate goal of yoga and is easily achieved by execution of devotional service or Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga will be vividly described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the yoga system, okay, this is a very long purport. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, we'll discuss this once we complete the purport. There are three very important points that we can discuss at the end of it. In the yoga system, as described in this chapter, there are two kinds of samadhi called Samprajnata Samadhi and Asamprajnata Samadhi, like this. So the two kinds of samadhi which are described in this chapter. When one becomes situated in the transcendental position by various philosophical researchers, he is said to have achieved Samprajnata Samadhi. In the Asamprajnata Samadhi, there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure. For one is then transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. This is Asamprajnata. Asamprajnata. That means no connection with the material sense objects. Yeah. But when one situates oneself in the transcendental position by philosophical researches, then what is said? One is said to be in the Samprajnata Samadhi platform. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so when the yogi is once situated in this transcendental platform, he is never shaken from it. Unless the yogi is able to reach this position, he is unsuccessful. Today's so-called yoga practice, which involves various sense pleasures, is contradictory. A yogi indulging in sex and intoxication is a mockery. Even those yogis who are attracted by the siddhis, perfections, in the process of yoga are not perfectly situated. If yogis are attracted by the byproducts of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection, as is stated in this verse. Persons, therefore, indulging in the make-show practice of gymnastic feats or siddhis should know that the aim of yoga is also lost in this way. The best practice of yoga in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling. A Krishna conscious person is so happy in his occupation that he does not aspire after any other happiness. The impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practicing Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, but there is no such problem in executing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Interesting. As long as a material body exists, one has to meet the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. But a person who's in pure Bhakti Yoga or in Krishna consciousness does not arouse the senses while meeting the demands of the body. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, makes the best use of a bad bargain, and enjoys transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. He is callous towards incidental occurrences such as accidents, disease, scarcity, and even the death of a most dear relative, but is always alert to executing his duties in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. Accidents never deviate him from his duty. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Agama Paino Anityas Tam Stitikshashva Bharata. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go and do not affect his duties. In this way, he achieves the highest perfection in yoga practice. Very beautiful verse, very beautiful translation, and very, very beautiful purport by His Divine Grace, Avi Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. A long purport, but if you look at the essence of this purport, there are 2-3 very beautiful points that Prabhupada is actually bringing about, right? So Prabhupada is talking about 2 kinds of samadhi, asamprajnata samadhi and samprajnata samadhi, right? One is just trying to understand the supreme truth by mental speculation. That means this will not work, this will not work. I think this will not work, so I'm going to give up this. I think this will not work, so I'm going to give up this. Like that, one uses one's own mental speculation and tries to attain the platform of na shochati na kankshati. That's also called samadhi, isn't it? So one tries to attain that platform. But that is not a very nice platform because one cannot be peaceful in this world, right? Even if one is peaceful for some time, what happens? One will become disturbed when some misery occurs. So what is samprajnata samadhi? When one tries to situate oneself in the transcendental position by various philosophical research, that is mental speculation. Whereas asamprajnata samadhi means there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure. Why? Because one is experiencing a higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. When we experience a higher taste, automatically the lower taste will go away. That is the secret, right? That is why Prabhupada is giving the example. A yogi indulging in sex and intoxication is a mockery. Why? Because he's just showing himself as if he's renounced everything, but his mind is contemplating on sense objects. Rather, it is better that we remain in whatever platform we are in, but dovetail our senses in the service of the Lord. Regulation of sex activities is by engaging in that activity for the pleasure of the Lord, for begetting Krishna conscious children. All right? And no intoxication. How can we dovetail intoxication, right? We know Jaga and Madai, right? They were also very intoxicated, right? Nityananda Prabhu is called Avaduta. Avaduta means mad, right? And that is a symptom of intoxication only, right? If you are in the intoxication of the holy names, then you are so much absorbed in the holy name that we don't care for the outer material world. Of course, we should not be artificially trying to do that, but great devotees, that's why they're called Avadutas. Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram himself. And then he used to simply, go and beg everybody, take Krishna's name, please chant Hare Krishna. And then even being hit by Madai, Nityananda Prabhu forgave him and begged for his deliverance from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they were intoxicated by Krishna Prema. And that is the state even we want to be in. We also want to get intoxicated with Krishna Prema. Right now, we're intoxicated with all the wrong things. That's why we are suffering. But we want to get intoxicated with Krishna Prema. That means, whatever be the situation, right? Whether it is a situation of happiness or a situation of suffering, whether it is a situation of heat or cold, right? Sitoshna sukha dukkada, agama paino anityastam stitikshashva bharata. A sober person or a devotee is not affected by the changing material conditions. He knows that this also will pass. But what do I have to follow? I have to follow the principles of Bhakti Yoga, which means I have to do chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, irrespective of whatever situation I am in. I have to perform, I have to honor only Krishna Prasadam. I will take only Krishna Prasadam, irrespective of whatever situation it may be in. Like in this morning Bhagavatam class, one very senior devotee was mentioning that his son is a pilot, and although he has to work in very late hours, etc., right? Sometimes very late night flight is there, whatever. But he does not take the flight food at all. He only eats Krishna Prasadam, and he's a boy, 23 years old, right? It's not that because the parents are devotees, the child is being brought up in a Krishna conscious environment. That's the advantage of children being brought up in a Krishna conscious environment. The child is able to take proper decisions, right? Of course, Prabhupada says that Acharya is also explained that even if the teenage children want to explore here and there after being born in devotee family also, because their roots are strong, they will definitely come back. Like that. So it is always an advantage to practice or to give Krishna consciousness to children at a very young age. So that when they get their wings, right? My daughter is turning 18 today. So I told her, you are now an adult. So you have your wings, you can fly. But I've given you proper routes. Aisa bhi bolna padta hai na. I've given you proper routes, so you take proper decisions. Like that I told her. And then she shrugged her shoulders and she just went inside. So, what are we trying to do? We can't control anything, right? But what we can do, we can simply try to give our best. And beyond that, each one has to fly their own airplane, isn't it? So similarly, here also, Prabhupada is actually talking about one has to control the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We don't have to give it up, right? One can follow Krishna consciousness as a pilot, as a Bollywood actor, as a Bollywood actress, whatever may be one's profession. If one is Krishna conscious, one can dovetail one's profession, right? If one finds that the profession does not allow one to practice Krishna consciousness or is not allowing one to advance, one automatically gives up that profession. Like I know some people who are engaged, who are working in in the accounts department of an alcohol or a business group that has got alcohol selling and all that. But with time, they found better opportunities and they quit, right? Because our income also should come from the business that is allowed, right? We don't want to earn our wealth by causing trouble to others by selling alcohol. We are giving them something that they should not be taking. So that is why we should earn money with integrity. Integrity means what? With sincerity, working properly, and not through fraudulent means. And also, our source of income should be legitimate. Just like prasadam, we have sanctioned, sanctified, and regulated. Similarly, our work also should be sanctioned. What is prescribed for a human being, right? We don't, if we break regulated principles or we are an instrument in breaking the regulated principles for others, then that is not a sanctioned job for us, right? So that is not sanctioned. And what is sanctified? When we give a portion of our salary for the propagation of Krishna consciousness movement, then becomes sanctified. And what is regulated? Even regulated is, Rupa Goswami told that we have to give 50% of our salary to Krishna consciousness endeavors, right? But as we progress, we gradually increase our contribution towards Krishna and gradually reduce our own. Sometimes, I was just hearing one devotee was saying in the class, right? A person entered into a partnership with the Lord, right? Because he knew if Krishna is my partner, I'll be very successful in business. He said, okay, Krishna, I'm going to a partnership with you, 50-50% partnership. And then he got so much profit. He got like 2 lakhs profit, whatever is the amount, right? He said, okay, Krishna, what will a sincere person do? He will go and put 100,000 in the undial, right? Because it's a 2 lakh partnership. You get 1 lakh, I get 1 lakh, right? That's a sincere person. This person was a duplicitous person. He said, okay, Krishna, I'm throwing up the 2 lakhs, all the money to you. You take whatever you want. Whatever falls down, I will take it. So he was trying to fool the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what happened? He threw up, of course, everything fell down. He took the entire 2 lakhs inventory. So it is our consciousness, right? So if we are trying to be duplicitous with the Lord, then the Lord will find means of how he can take care of us, isn't it? So sincerity is what is most important with that, right? So, so to make, the more we make Krishna our partner, in the sense, how much ever is possible, how much ever is required for our sustenance, even Rupa Goswami did that, right? For whatever is required for emergency, for bodily maintenance, for emergency situation. That much was set aside, 25%, 25%. The remaining 50% was given in the service of Lord Sri Krishna and propagation of Krishna consciousness movement, as well as for the Vaishnavas. So in that way, we have to regulate our lives, even in the means of income. Everything, these three principles will apply. Sanctioned, sanctified, and regulated. In all aspects of life, we can apply this. Right? What is allocated for me? How do I make it? How do I dovetail it in Krishna's service? And how do I regulate myself? Right? Even in the money that is obtained through Krishna consciousness, but I can, the amount that is allocated towards myself. Like, for example, 24% I've kept for myself. If I'm utilizing that 24% also to watch movies, watch cricket match, or doing something which will not facilitate me to advance in devotional service, then I'm not progressing, right? I'm stuck there. So those things you have to gradually give up. It's not that one fine day we wake up and say, I'm going to watch movies today, right? I've also gone through this transition. When I was doing my CA, almost every Friday or after the completion of every exam, I used to book tickets and go for a movie, right? And singing Bollywood songs. And, in our society, there used to be some stage program, you go and sing and all that. All that we have all done, right? But then that is why Krishna also says, Akinchana Gochara. It exhausted with all of those things. And yet there is no pleasure in all of that, right? It all passes away with time. So if we need to enjoy transcendental bliss all the time, eternally, it is only possible by serving the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the sum and substance of this particular verse. And then going ahead, Prabhupada says, Agama Paino Anityas Tam Siti Ksheshwa Bharat. So this is very difficult even for a devotee. Like, for example, Prabhupada giving specific instances that, could be a death of a near a loved one, right? So what is the understanding from here? Do devotees not feel separation? Do devotees not feel emotions? Do devotees not feel separation or sadness? Not at all. A devotee does feel separation. A devotee does feel sadness in the separation of a loved one. But those things, those emotions should not make us give up our practice of devotional service, right? Whatever be the circumstance, we are, in fact, there is a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam which says, Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvad vapurvi vidadan namaste jivete ye mukti padesatayava. Right? Whatever suffering I'm undergoing now is because of my previous karmas. I'm supposed to get much more suffering. But then, because I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, because I'm a devotee of the Lord is actually giving me a molehill of the mountain or a level of problems that I'm supposed to have got. Right? But Krishna has reduced it to the level of a molehill. In this way, when a devotee realizes it, it is a fact actually. So when a devotee realizes it and thanks the Lord, thank you so much, Lord. You are giving me these problems for my own purification, and you've reduced it to such an extent that it is that I can bear it. Right? Krishna never gives any problem that is not bearable for a devotee. Otherwise, why would Kunti Maharani ask, give me more problems, give me more problems, right? The extent we are surrendered to Krishna, right? His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Srila Guru Maharaj still is in the ICU, but every day in the evening he's logging onto that video where in Nandagaon they installed the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then in Prem Sarovar they installed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet, and Guru Maharaj is logging in and seeing in the video, and he's so happy. He's totally transcendental to his physical condition. He's in ICU. They are doing what is that for kidney? They do dialysis. They're doing. Right? It's quite a painful procedure. Then how Guru Maharaj is totally transcendental. He's writing every day. Today morning also, he was writing in that thing that I watched on the video, the live video of installation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet in this particular place. So many devotees attended. His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was there. Then 2-3 Maharajas, his own Bhakti Vignaminath Narasimha Maharaj was there. Like that, he was giving details, complete details, right? So it is not about what is happening to us. It is about how we are responding. And that happens by purification. The more we are purified, like the pure transcendental devotees of the Lord, they're totally above it. Right? None of the material situations, even being in the ICU, being completely in ill health, that also does not trouble them. Right? We cannot artificially think like that. Okay, let me also. No, according to our realization, we know that we have done so much kukramas, right? So many lifetimes, right? Whatever difficulty we are getting, we are actually, at least I can say for myself, I'm actually entitled to much more suffering. But Krishna is personally taking care of us, and Krishna is giving us a small minuscule of what is our share of suffering. And we need to be grateful to the Lord for actually bringing it to such a tiny minimum that we can tolerate it. Otherwise, we will not be able to tolerate it, right? So Krishna wants us to continue the practical devotional service. That is why Krishna is reducing our suffering. At the same time, Krishna wants us to get purified. So Krishna is meeting both the demands, right? That we get purified also by the token of the suffering, and then we also are able to bear that suffering and continue with the process of devotional service. And that is in essence this particular person. And when one practices this, he achieves the highest perfection. What is the highest perfection? Go back home, back to Godhead, in service of Guru and Gauranga. All right, let's move forward. Text number 24. Anyone wants to read? Okay, Rohini Mataji, go ahead.
Mataji, the shloka after you. You're on mute, Mataji.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay.
Shall I read the synonyms? Shall I read the synonyms, Mataji? Okay. Synonyms: Sah, that.
निश्चयेन योक्तव्यो योगो निर्विण्ण चेतसा संकल्प प्रभवान् कामांस् त्यक्त्वा सर्वान् शेषतः मनसैवेन्द्रिय ग्रामं विनियम्य समन्ततः. Surana Chotwa translation.
Sah, that. Nishchayena.
Is someone reading? I can't hear.
I'm reading. I'm not audible. Hare Krishna. Not audible.
Oh, okay. I think it's not audible for me only. Just give me 1 second. Let me fix this 1 second. Just 1 second. I'll just log in through my mobile also. My speaker is off. I don't know what happened with it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
You're audible, Mataji. How about me? Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So shall I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead. Synonyms?
Sir, that. Nishchayena, with firm determination. Yoktavya, must be practiced. Yoga system. Anirvinna chetasa, without deviation. Sankalpa, mental speculations. Prabhavan, born of. Kaman, material desires. Tyaktva, giving up. Sarvan, all. Asheshatah, completely. Manasa, by the mind. Eva, certainly. Indriya gramam, the full set of senses. Viniyama, regulating. Samantata, from all sides. Translation: one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport: the yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure at the success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha Nishayat Dhairya Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vritta Asadbir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. From Updesh Amrita 3. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs in the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in a small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus, Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus, the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help. For God helps those who help themselves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. It's a very wonderful purport, right? Very beautiful story. We all know this. We've seen this. We've also heard this many times this past time. That the sparrow was trying to drink up the whole ocean, and the ocean was like, how much can you do, right? So in this way, our effort may be so minuscule, right? You also know in the Ramasetu Leela also, where that bridge was built. Hanumanji was also, he was lifting big boulders in service to Lord Ram. And there was a small squirrel who was just picking up small particles of sand and just going and putting it on the bridge, just making the bridge. But both of them, the squirrel as well as Hanumanji, were equal in the eyes of Lord Ram. Right. So similarly, our efforts, right, if we put in best efforts according to our capacity, the Lord is pleased with us. And then we will definitely attain success in our endeavor, right? Ultimately, the result is the same for everyone, right? In this process, the result is the same for everyone. All of us want to attain Krishna Prema, isn't it? We want to attain Krishna Prema. And for that, each one of us are trying our best. Like some of us are good singers. We sing bhajans for the pleasure of the Lord. Some of them are good. Some of us are good speakers. So we are able to give a nice Krishna Katha. Some of us are can hear Krishna Katha nicely. So we hear Krishna Katha nicely. Some of us make nice PowerPoints. So make nice slides for the presentation of Krishna consciousness, right? And whatever aptitude we have, whatever resources we have, whatever skills we have, we simply have to demonstrate that. Am I audible, Rohini Mataji? Okay. So I can only see Rohini Mataji. So for me, she's only existing in the class, right? Everyone else is black screen. Only names are there, right? So I really don't know if you're all there. So, I mean, I don't want you all to misunderstand that I'm asking only her. So what was I saying? Yeah. So whatever skills and resources we have, right, we should utilize it in the service of the Lord. And when we do that, okay, thank you, Sridhar Prabhu, Sneha Prabha Mataji, Sarva Gopishni Mataji, thank you so much. Yeah, it's nice to see faces, devotees' faces especially, right? So what was I saying? Yeah. So whatever skills and resources we have, we have to utilize it in the service of the Lord. And when we do that, the Lord is pleased. Because the Lord has everything. He's not in need of anything. But the Lord sees our sincere effort. The Lord sees our emotion. The Lord sees our desire. If you want to please the Lord, then Krishna only will empower us. And by so empowering us, Krishna himself will be pleased by us, by our endeavor. And then Krishna only will give us a desired success, which is Krishna Prema. Krishna means Krishna includes his paraphernalia, his representatives, his associates, his all the acharyas coming in the disciplic succession. If we please them, we will please Krishna. And if we please Krishna, then all of these things, our success will be assured. So we have to have a determination like that of the sparrow. We have to have the determination like that of the squirrel, right? Not to become the best, not to become the best in the service, to give our best in the service. Whatever service we are doing, I am doing my best for the pleasure of the Lord. That is it. There's no anxiety, right? As I was just recommending also that students, when they give the exam also, they do to do this, right? They should not try to become the best, because we don't know how do we have a control of how much other person is prepared. What is the question paper that's going to come? But I can always do my best. If I study very well, I will be able to write the exam well, and I will be able to please the Supreme Lord. Does not matter. And if I get something different than what I aspire for, Krishna has a better plan for me, because Krishna is pleased with me, because I have done my best in my endeavor in service to the Lord. That is the right mood. In order, that is also like being properly selfish, right? What is it? Because we need proper peace of mind to even live in this world, right? So if we don't get whatever we want, we should understand there is a bigger, better plan, right? Even if you are not yet pure devotees, this is even for somebody who wants to peacefully live in the life, live this life peacefully, and then do our chanting, etc. And then when the time comes, I will, when I take Vanaprastha or something, I will dedicate everything in service of the Lord. Even for such people who are currently entangled in family affairs, taking care of the family, etc. Although we are performing Karma Yoga more than Bhakti Yoga, our Bhakti Yoga is hardly 2 to 4 hours, right? What we do chanting, what we read Bhagavatam, what we hear Bhagavad Gita, what we are reading the prayers, singing bhajans, etc. Exclusive activities are Bhakti Yoga. Most of the times you are doing Karma Yoga. We are offering, we are preparing food, but we are offering to the Lord and we are honoring Krishna Prasadam. We are doing dovetailing only most of the time, right? So in this way, we are going to office, we are earning money, and then we are dovetailing a percentage of that for the service of Krishna. We are distributing books for Krishna. We are distributing Prabhupada's books. All of this, right, exclusively with the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga is Bhakti Yoga. And most of the time is Karma Yoga. That means we dovetail our activities or the results of our activities in the service of the Lord. And if we are sincere and if we do our best in that process, Krishna will be pleased with us. And Krishna will give us the intelligence how we can do more and more in the service of the Lord. That's what it is. All right, let's move on. Text number 25. Okay, who? Sudha Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
No.
Shanai Shanairuparame Bhuttya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstam Mana Kritva Na Kinchedapi Chintayet. Synonyms: Shanai, gradually. Shanai, step by step. Uparame, one should hold back. Bhuttya, by intelligence. Dhriti Grihitaya, carried by conviction. Atma Samstam, placed in transcendence. Mana, mind. Kritva, making. Na, not. Kinshit, anything else. Api, even. Chintayat, should think of. Translation and purport by Prabhupada ki jai. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Purport: by proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually cease sense activities. This is called pratyahara. The mind, being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from the senses, should be situated in trance or samadhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in the material conception of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter as long as the material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This state is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Right? As long as one is involved with matter, one should not think about sense gratification. Right? So, how much are we able to convert Bhoga Vritti to Seva Vritti? To that extent, all of our activities will be purified. In all circumstances, I'm thinking, how do I serve the Lord? How will the Lord be pleased by this activity of mine? Right? Will the Lord be pleased? Yes, then we do it. The Lord will not be pleased, I will not do it. Then, although it might titillate my senses and give me sense pleasure, will the Lord like it if I indulge in even in 1 minute in this particular activity? Will it Please the Lord. Yes, when will we know something is pleasing the Lord or not also, right? If you are following the instructions of our Guru and doing those things which are approved in the Shastras, that will please the Lord. If I am spending, if I am wasting my time in watching unnecessary things which will not help in evolving my consciousness, but rather will contribute towards my consciousness going down, right? Then Krishna will not be pleased if I spend some time in those activities, isn't it? So it's very, very clear. It's not anything ambiguous. Very, very clearly, we should think of the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, and in that way one can attain pleasure also. So Sukham kartum avyayam. When I'm performing an activity in the pleasure of the Lord, and that activity itself is being done by the grace of the Lord, because the activity is accomplished by the senses provided by the Lord, using the resources provided by the Lord. Everything is provided by the Lord. Only one thing I'm adding of my own. What is that one thing? My desire to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what it is. All right, Hare Krishna. So let's move ahead. Text number 26. Very important verse. Okay. So probably we will see. We've just started our verse day before yesterday, I guess. Okay, 3 days you are. So we'll see. Otherwise, we can also pick up from the 7th chapter, not a problem. But this is also an important verse. Right? You should try to memorize this verse also. But maybe we'll not take it up now. Let's study the previous verse, whatever we've given. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalamasstiram tatastatho niyam yaitat atmanyeva vasham nayet. Very, very important verse. Okay, so who's reading? Sorry. Okay, Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. You can read the verse also, Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Pranam Shantaji.
Hare Krishna, Pranam.
Text 26. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalamasstiram tatastato niyam yaitad atmani eva vasham nayet. Yata yata, wherever, nischalati becomes verily agitated, manaha, the mind, chanchalam, flickering, astiram, unsteady, tata tata, from there, niyamya, regulating, etat, this, atmani, in the self, eva, certainly, vasam, control, naye, must bring under. Translation purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. The nature of the mind is flickering and unsteady, but a self-realized yogi has to control the mind. The mind should not control him. One who controls the mind and therefore the senses as well is called Goswami or Swami, and one who is controlled by the mind is called Godasa or the servant of the senses. The Goswami notes the standard of sense happiness. In transcendental sense happiness, senses are engaged in the service of Rishikesha, or the supreme owner of the senses, Krishna. Serving Krishna with purified senses is called Krishna consciousness. That is a way of bringing the senses under full control. What is more, that is the highest perfection of yoga practice.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna. So, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, Pramati Balavadridam. Arjuna told Krishna, right? And then Krishna told Asamshayam Mahabaho Manas Durni Graham Chalam. Right? Again, Krishna told Arjuna, yes, Arjuna, you are right. Manam is always Chanchalam. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, Pramati Balavadridam. Not only is the mind Chanchalam, that means running here and there, but Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, Pramati Balavadridam is also very, very strong. That means when the mind wants to take you somewhere, it will not allow you to go anywhere else unless you have very good control over your mind. Right? So in this way, the mind is very, very strong, obstinate, and is as strong as an elephant. Right? So what is here? Krishna is now giving an easy way how to control the mind. What are we supposed to do? This is what we have to practice also while chanting. What is it that we have to practice? Yato yato nischalati manas chanchalam astiram. We know that the mind is chanchal and astiram. That means the mind is always disturbed and the mind goes here, there, and everywhere. Mana is chanchala and astira. Tatam tai. Like what is that? Tatastato niyam yaitad. Tatastato means from there, wherever the mind wanders, bring it back under the control of the self. Atmanyeva vasham nayet. Atmanyeva here refers to the soul. Atmanyeva vasham means control. Bring it under the control of the self. Don't give the key to the mind. Then the mind will unlock all the unnecessary gates, right? Which will become more difficult for us to control the mind, right? But when we bring it under the control of the soul, that means you're actually bringing it under the control of the intelligence. So we know what locks to open and what locks to not open, right? Sometimes some distraction Just 1 second. Hare Krishna, audible?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Okay. So I was just saying, manas chanchalam astiram. Right? Mind is always wandering, and mind is astiram. That is, mind is not fixed. So we should not give the key to the mind. We should rather give the key to the soul or to the intelligence, which is properly situated because of study of the scriptures. So sometimes we need not even fight certain wars. We needn't even go into that territory to try to control the mind. We need not open those doors at all. So our mind is already clear. We don't have to trouble ourselves by landing ourselves in some situation where we are forced to do some things, and then we have to forcibly control our mind and come out, right? Or we have to stay there and not do. Let's avoid such situations, right? Better to, if we steer clear of such situations as much as possible, then it is easy for us also to work out and practice the principles of Krishna consciousness very easily, right? Isn't it which is easier? Oh my God. Okay. So isn't it easier for an alcoholic, right, to give up alcohol when he gives up the association of the alcoholists, or is it easier for an alcoholic to go and sit in the beer shop with 4 or 5 of his friends and not have beer and let the others are having, and he's just going to sit there and not have that beer, right? Nityananda Prabhu used to do that. Nityananda Prabhu used to go to the beer shop and preach Krishna consciousness because he was very sure he will not get influenced by the alcoholistic people. But people who are already under the addiction of alcohol and they are trying to give it up, such person should stay away from that association, because if they go into that association, although they have a determined will to not have alcohol, they will be convinced by the association of the people around. Unless we are so much stira, we are so much attained that particular platform that even amongst alcoholists, I will have the control. I am so much fixed in Krishna consciousness. If we are so determined, we can go there and preach, provided we have instructions of our guru, we have the sanction of our guru, right? In that scenario, when we are given that seva, we can go ahead and do. Otherwise, we carefully avoid such situations where our own principle is, is under the threat of being not followed, right? So carefully avoid those situations, and it's easy way to practice our principles of devotional service like that. Okay, let's move forward. We still have about 10 minutes, I guess, now. Okay, so this is a very important verse. We can try to memorize this verse. Yato yato nischalati manas chanchalam astiram tatastatho yato nischalati manas chanchalam astiram. Wherever the mind goes because of its unsteady nature. Tatastatho niyam yaitad. Niyam means regulating, right? Niyam, what is that? Yama niyama, right? Niyam means what are the regulative principles we followed. Tatastatho niyam yaitad. By implementing those rules and regulations, we bring the mind back and Atman Yeva Vasham Nayat. Vasham means bring it under the control of Atman Yeva, means bring it under the control of the self or the soul. Okay, once we understand the meaning, it becomes easy to memorize the words also. Okay, text number 27. And Prabhupada talks about Godasa and Goswami. Godasa means one who is a servant of the Go. Go here means senses. And Goswami means, we studied that in the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam. Jiva Vegam Udaro Pashta Vegam Etan Vegan Yodhisheda Diraha Sarvam Apimam Prativim Sasishat. Somebody who's controlled all of his senses can make disciples all over the world. So such a person is a guru. And if the first disciple of any person is his or her own mind. If you're able to control the mind, we can make as many disciples. Isn't it? So, okay, text number 27. Okay, let me share my screen again. Who will read? Okay, Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji, go ahead. Mataji, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Prashantamana Samye
Hare Krishna, very low volume, Mataji. Little more volume.
Upaiti Shantarajasam Brahma Bhutama Kalmasham. Yes, Mataji. Synonyms.
Yeah.
Mataji, scroll it.
You read the verse already, Mataji?
Achha. Prasantam. I have already read, Mataji.
Okay, go ahead. Synonyms, word translation.
prasanta, peaceful, fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna. Manasama, whose mind he certainly inam, this, yoginam, yogi, sukham, happiness, uttamam, the highest, upaiti, attained, santa rajasam, his passion pacified, brahma bhutam, liberation by identification with the absolute, aklamas, akalmasam, akalmasam, freed from all past sinful reactions. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attained the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reaction to past deeds. Purport. Brahma Bhuta is the state of being free from material contamination and situated in the transcendental service of the Lord. Mother Bhaktim Labhate Param. 18.54. One cannot remain in the quality of Brahmana, the absolute, until one's mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. So why? So we
Manah Krishna Padaravindayo.
Krishna Padarvindayoho. To be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, or to remain in Krishna consciousness, is to factually liberated from the mode of passion and all the material contamination.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So, Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na shochati na ankshati. That means when one is situated in the platform of no hankering and no lamentation, in whatever situation that we are placed according to our past karmas, then what happens? We become eligible to come to the platform of performing pure devotional service. Until such time, what happens? We're always hankering for something. We're always lamenting, I want this, I want this. Then there is a time and energy to perform devotional service. Cannot happen. So we have to overcome from the mode of passion and ignorance. We have to reach the mode of sattva guna. We are able to accept all the situations as the mercy of the Lord. And in that platform, one is able to start rendering devotional service. Text number 28. Okay, text number 28. Who wants to read? Okay, Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashah sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Okay, Vrishabhanu Kanya Mataji, you want to read again? Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Synonyms. Yujhan. Yunjan. Engage in yoga practice. Evam. Thus. Sada. Always. Atmanam. The self. Yogi. One who is in touch with the Supreme Self. Vigata. Freed from kalmashaha, all material contamination. Sukhena. In transcendental happiness. Brahma Samprasam, being in constant touch with the Supreme, and Atyantam, the highest, Sukham, happiness, Asnute, attains. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, the self-control yogi constantly engage in yoga practice becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. Purport. The self-realization means knowing one's constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. The individual soul is part and parcel of the Supreme, and his position is to render transcendental service to the Lord. This transcendental contact with the Supreme is called Brahma Samparsham.
Yeah, Brahma Samsparsha. Sparsha means to feel the touch, right? Yehi samsparsha jaboga dukkha yone evate. That means whatever we are enjoying or so-called enjoying in contact with the material senses, that is only going to give us dukkha. Right? Another verse in Bhagavad Gita, Yehi samsparsha jaboga. That means when we are going to do boga or enjoyment in contact with the material senses, what will we get? Dukkha yone evate. Adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. That is why devotee is very intelligent. He does not relish such pleasures of the material body, because he knows that ultimately dukkha yona evatha. It is finally going to give us sadness. It is going to give us distress. Yeah. So here in this very short purport, Prabhupada very clearly says we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, right? Mame vamsu jivaloki jivabhuta sanatana. Why are we suffering then? We are part of the Supreme Lord. Manasasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Because we've given up our contact with the Supreme Lord and we've begun to get in touch with the material objects, trying to get pleasure from there. It is giving us suffering, right? Text number 29. Okay, we'll do 29 and 30 today. Okay, text number 29. Okay, let's Mala Mataji, go ahead. Sarvabhutastam atmanam sarvabhutani chapmani ikshate yoga yukta atma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, Jai Srila Prabhupada Synonyms, Sarva Bhutastam, situated in all beings. Atmanam, the super soul. Sarva, all, Bhutani, entities. Cha, also. Atmani, in the self. Ikshate, does see. Yoga Yukta Atma, one who is dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. Sarvatra, everywhere. Samadarshanaha, seeing equally. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, a self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. Purport: a Krishna-conscious yogi is the perfect seer because he sees Krishna, the Supreme, situated in everyone's heart, a super soul, Paramatma. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtati. The Lord in his Paramatma feature is situated within both the heart of the dog and that of a Brahmana. The perfect yogi knows that the Lord is eternally transcendental and is not materially affected by his presence in either a dog or a Brahmana. That is the supreme neutrality of the Lord. The individual soul is also situated in the individual heart, but he is not present in all hearts. That is the distinction between the individual soul and the super soul. One who is not factually in the practice of yoga cannot see so clearly. A Krishna conscious person can see Krishna in the heart of both the believer and the non-believer. In the Smriti, this is confirmed as follows: Atatatvat
Matatatva cha atmahi paramoharihi.
Hare Krishna. The Lord, being the source of all beings, is like the mother and the maintainer. As the mother is neutral to all different kinds of children, the Supreme Father or Mother is also. Consequently, the Super Soul is always in every living being. Outwardly also, every living being is situated in the energy of the Lord, as will be explained in the 7th chapter. The Lord has primarily two energies, the spiritual or superior and the material or inferior. The living entity, although part of the superior energy, is conditioned by the inferior energy. The living entity is always in the Lord's energy. Every living entity is situated in him in one way or another. The yogi sees equally because he sees that all living entities, although in different situations according to the results of fruit of work, in all circumstances remain the servants of God. While in the material energy, the living entity serves the material senses, and while in the spiritual energy, he serves the Supreme Lord directly. In either case, the living entity is a servant of God. This vision is this vision of equality is perfect in a person in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Haribo. Okay, so Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. A devotee is given that intelligence by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he does not actually see any person from an external platform. Right? We discussed this the other day also very in detail. One should not look at a devotee having some kind of birth in a lower family or having some disease, etc., etc. Rather, one should see a devotee from the light as to how I can get inspired from this devotee, because every devotee has got one or the other transcendental qualities as bestowed by the Supreme Lord. So each person, we should try to imbibe what can I learn from this particular devotee? How can I improve in my devotional service? Unless we have got the seva of actually trying to check and help people improve their sadhana. Unless we got this responsibility from our spiritual authority, we should never see anything wrong or anything anything which is negative in any living entity for that reason, right? What are we going to do? Are we going to help in any way? If you have the authority to help, and then we can look at it from the perspective of how we can serve that person. Otherwise, it is best that we see only good things in others, and we also see how we can also develop such good qualities so we can better engage in service to Guru and Gaura. So with that, we'll end our today's session. We'll quickly do 2 minutes Harinam Sankirtan, by which time devotees can raise your hands if you have any queries, and also give us your darshan. And then tomorrow's Ekadashi, so let's get geared up for 2 hours Hari Katha Kirtan tomorrow. Join us at 12 or 12:30, 12 o'clock. Join us at 12 o'clock. We'll have about an hour and a half session tomorrow. Tomorrow's Ekadashi. So, Madhava Tithi, Bhakti Janani, Jetana Palana Kori. If you follow these, observe these wonderful days, then our Krishna consciousness will improve. We will get more taste in chanting Hare Krishna, in following the regulative principles, in associating with devotees, and in this way we will become dear to Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pataka Swami Namo Acharya Padaya Nitai Pakarayine Gaura Katha Damodaya Namo Adine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhaktyari Chatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Radha Madhav Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Govinda Radhe Jai Jai Prabhupada Prabhupada Sundev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol नाम संकीर्तन की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। अनंत पुरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय। सामवेद भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada, Shri Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much. I can see Rohini Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Sindhu Mataji, Mala Mataji, Sudha Mataji, Sarvagopi Shri Mataji. Thank you all for joining in. I would humbly request all of you kindly keep Dhanya in your prayers. She's turning 18 today. Please pray that if it pleases Lord Shri Krishna, may she keeps very good health and always engage in the service of Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. I'll request if all devotees can chant one time the Panchatattva mantra and 3 times Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We generally do that in the morning session. Since she's in the teenage, we have to have really pray. So I request all of you all to kindly pray. May she take the right decisions. May she fulfill her dreams and in that way contribute to the society and work in a way that's pleasing Guru and Gauranga. Ultimately, that is real happiness. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Everyone can unmute themselves now. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna. Convey our best wishes to her. All the best.
Mataji, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I was not audible at all, is it? The entire thing?
No, now you
No, that's all.
Just
Now
Okay,
what
I
is
thought for prayers for Dhanya, all that I was audible.
no, that time you are audible. Mataji, you are audible.
I don't know how it automatically muted. Anyways, thank you all for your prayers. I was just reciting the Vaishnava Pranam Mantra. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha tapasintu bhyedacha patitanam
Pavnitu Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। एकादशी व्रता की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Please join in the Sankalpa group and give your Sankalpa for tomorrow and also join the festival group. We are studying Balakanda and Ayodhya Kanda. All right, devotees.
Please pass our best wishes and Ashirvadams to her. Please. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. All of your best wishes should only bless her. So she takes the right decisions and yeah.
Mataji, association of devotees is most important. That's what. That's Hare Krishna.
Correct. So,
Mataji,
yeah.
tomorrow will we be doing TLC? Tomorrow will we do TLC?
Yeah, we will do Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, right? We are on 10. What is our schedule for last Ekadashi?
8 months.
We are still on 8. Yeah.
8
So,
we will.
Yeah.
Correct. So we'll do 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, important verses and translation and discussion. And then we will start with chapter 2 of TLC. And then we will do, what we'll do then? We will, of course, do Harinam Sankirtan and then one round of chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra. If time permits, we'll also sing this song, Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula. It's only by the mercy of devotees that we can practice Krishna consciousness. We'll sing that song. And thank you all, dear devotees, for your blessings, prayers for Dhanya. I'm really grateful to all of you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.